Imagine this. What if just 3 hours stood between you and a completely transformed life? 3 hours. That's about the same amount of time it takes to watch a movie, sit through a long meeting at work, or get lost scrolling on your phone. But what if instead, those hours became the turning point that finally set you free from the constant stress, anxiety, and uncertainty that keep pulling you down? Now take a moment. Picture a version of you who wakes up each day with clarity, calm, and unshakable focus. No longer a prisoner of other people's opinions, no longer weighed down by regrets or fears of the future. You move through the world with a quiet strength that people notice but can't quite explain. Sounds like a fantasy? It's not. This is exactly what the ancient philosophy of Stoicism can offer you. Developed over 2,000 years ago by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, Stoicism isn't just a set of dusty old ideas. It's a practical, powerful guide to mastering your emotions and building a rock-solid mindset that can handle anything life throws your way. It teaches you to focus on what you can control, to accept what you can't, and to find peace within, no matter how chaotic the outside world becomes. Think about it. In a world that constantly demands more of us, where we're pushed to be always on, Stoicism offers us a way to step back and ask, what really matters? How can I live in a way that aligns with my true values, instead of always chasing after fleeting pleasures or external approval? What if in just 3 hours you could start this journey? Not years of therapy, not endless self-help books collecting dust on your shelf, but a focused, intentional deep dive into tools and mindsets that have stood the test of time for millennia. I know what you might be thinking. Can 3 hours really change my life? The answer is yes, if you're truly open and committed. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have your life all figured out. All you need is the courage to take that first step. And that's exactly what we're going to do together. In this video, we're going to break down the core principles of Stoicism in a way that's simple, relatable, and immediately useful. You'll learn how to transform everyday obstacles into opportunities, turn stress into serenity, and reclaim your mental freedom. We'll share stories, examples, and practical exercises you can apply today. Not someday, but right now. So, let me ask you again. If all it took was 3 hours to build a stronger, calmer, and more resilient you, would you say yes? Would you finally take control of your mind instead of letting the world control you? This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the best, most authentic version of yourself. Because when you master your mind, you don't just survive life, you truly start to live it. Grab a notebook, find a comfortable spot, and get ready. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand Stoicism, you'll embody it. You'll walk away with a renewed sense of power and a deep inner calm that no one can shake. Are you ready? Let's get started. Part 1. Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Approx 1,500 words. Have you ever felt like you're constantly giving to your family, your friends, your work, until you have nothing left for yourself? Maybe you've stayed up late to help a friend move, taken on extra projects at work to be a team player, or said yes to social obligations when your body and mind were begging you to rest. In our society, we're taught that putting others first is the highest form of love, the ultimate virtue. From childhood, we hear phrases like, always put others before yourself, or it's better to give than to receive. But here's the question no one ever really asks. At what cost? There's a powerful Stoic principle that challenges this deeply ingrained belief. It says, don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That sounds pretty harsh, right? But think about it. Fire is life-giving when it's controlled. It warms us, cooks our food, lights our way. But when fire is out of control, it destroys everything, including us. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this principle perfectly. Imagine two neighbors. Both of them love gardening. The first neighbor wakes up early each morning, makes a warm cup of coffee, and steps out into their yard. They take their time watering the flowers, checking the soil, pruning branches. Every plant gets exactly what it needs. This garden flourishes. The flowers bloom in bright colors. The vegetables grow big and juicy, and butterflies dance from leaf to leaf. The gardener finds peace, joy, and a sense of purpose each morning as they care for this little sanctuary. And because the garden is so healthy, there's extra to share. They give tomatoes to friends, fresh flowers to co-workers, herbs to neighbors. Their generosity flows naturally because they first tended to their own space. Now, picture the second gardener. This person has a big heart and feels responsible for helping everyone. Each day, they rush from yard to yard, helping other neighbors with their weeds, trimming bushes, fixing fences. Their own garden is always last on the list, and usually forgotten entirely. Over time, weeds overtake the yard, flowers wither, vegetables shrivel up. The garden that once brought them joy becomes a symbol of neglect and exhaustion. Eventually, when they have nothing left to give, they realize, in trying to save everyone else's garden, they lost their own. This story isn't just about gardening. It's about life. How often do we play the role of that second gardener? We take on everyone else's problems, listen to their complaints, solve their crises, and at the end of the day, we're the ones left empty, resentful, and tired. We wonder why we feel unappreciated, why no one seems to notice our sacrifices. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "You have a duty to care for yourself first." He understood that self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. When we neglect our own needs, we don't just harm ourselves, we actually hurt those around us. Think about it. If you're running on fumes, what kind of partner, parent, friend, or colleague can you really be? You might be physically present but emotionally distant, impatient, or easily overwhelmed. It's like trying to pour water from an empty cup. You can tip it, shake it, turn it upside down, but nothing will come out. So what does it mean to truly care for your garden first? It means setting boundaries without guilt. It means listening to your body when it asks for rest. It means saying no, not because you don't care, but because you do. You care about maintaining your own strength so you can show up fully when it truly matters. Let's talk about boundaries for a moment. Many of us struggle with them because we're afraid of seeming rude or being rejected. We think if we say no, people will stop liking us or think we're cold-hearted. But here's the truth. Boundaries don't push people away. They teach people how to love us better. When you clearly communicate your limits, you invite respect. You show others that your time and energy are valuable. You create space for authentic connections rather than relationships built on silent resentment or obligation. I remember a time in my own life when I was the yes person. Every time someone needed something, I was there. No questions asked. Late-night phone calls, weekend favors, extra shifts at work. I thought this made me a good friend and a reliable coworker. But slowly, I started feeling burned out. My creativity faded, my health declined, and I became short-tempered with the very people I was trying to help. It wasn't until I discovered Stoicism that I realized I was setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. I was giving so much of myself that I had nothing left to give, not even to myself. Learning to step back, to say no, and to protect my own energy wasn't easy. At first, I felt selfish, but over time, I noticed something amazing. The relationships that mattered most actually grew stronger. My true friends respected my new boundaries and appreciated me even more when I showed up, fully present and energized. And here's a secret. The people who truly value you won't disappear when you say no. The ones who only stick around for what you can give, they might fade, and that's okay. Because in the space they leave behind, You'll find more room to nurture yourself and to welcome people who love you for who you are, not just what you can do for them. Imagine if we all cared for ourselves first. Imagine a world where each of us showed up as our healthiest, most balanced selves, full of energy, creativity, and genuine warmth. How much more powerful would our acts of kindness be then? So next time you're about to say yes out of guilt or fear, pause. Ask yourself, am I giving from a place of abundance or emptiness? Am I lighting a strong, steady flame? Or am I burning myself out? Remember, tending your own garden doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. It makes you the type of person who can give from overflow rather than depletion. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we are each responsible for the health of our own soul. When you focus on nurturing your inner world, you create a foundation of peace and resilience that no external storm can shake. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a lifelong practice. You'll have days when you overcommit or slip back into old habits. That's okay. What matters is noticing it, learning from it, and gently returning to your path. Today I challenge you. Choose one small way to care for your garden. Maybe it's saying no to an extra task at work. Maybe it's going to bed an hour earlier. Maybe it's taking a quiet morning walk without your phone. Start small. Build from there. With every act of self-care, you're not just protecting yourself. You're becoming a stronger source of light for everyone around you. So don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Instead, become the steady, radiant flame that lights up the world without destroying itself in the process. Your garden deserves it. You deserve it. And ultimately, the people you love most will benefit from it too. Are you ready to start? Let's keep going on this journey together. Part 2. Kindness should have limits. When was the last time you did something kind for someone and felt disappointed when they didn't say thank you or didn't seem to care at all? We've all been there. You put in extra effort to help a coworker finish a big project. You lend money to a friend who promises to pay it back but never does. You show up to support someone through a rough patch, and then they disappear as soon as they're back on their feet. It stings, doesn't it? We're taught that kindness is always a good thing, that generosity is the ultimate virtue. But what if I told you that kindness, when practiced without limits, can actually become dangerous? It might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. Kindness is a beautiful force when it's given freely, without expectation. But when it turns into a tool for approval, when it's used to buy love or secure validation, it stops being true kindness and becomes a transaction. And that transaction can drain your spirit, leave you feeling empty, and even make you resentful. There's a powerful lesson in Stoicism that addresses this exact struggle. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, said, "Focus on your actions, not on the outcomes." What does this mean in practice? It means that real kindness comes from the purity of your intention, not from the response you hope to receive. It's about showing up because it aligns with your values, not because you expect applause. Let's take an example. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see someone struggling with heavy grocery bags. You rush over to help them carry everything to their car. Now, in that moment, your act of kindness is pure. But what if they get in their car, drive away without a single word of thanks? If your happiness depends on that thank you, your kindness turns into disappointment. Suddenly, instead of feeling uplifted by your good deed, you feel bitter. You start to think, people are so ungrateful. Why do I even bother? But if you let go of the need for acknowledgement, the act itself is enough. You helped because it was the right thing to do. You gave without strings attached. And that, my friend, is freedom. Think about your own life for a moment. How often have you found yourself keeping score? Maybe you've thought, I always check in on them, but they never check on me, or I gave them so much support and now they're not there for me. When kindness turns into a scoreboard, it loses its soul. You're no longer giving because it feels true to who you are. You're giving because you want something in return, whether it's love, attention, loyalty, or gratitude. The irony? The more you expect from others, the more disappointed you'll feel. Stoicism invites us to flip this mindset entirely. Instead of focusing on what you can get, focus solely on who you want to be. Are you someone who helps because it's aligned with your values, or are you someone who helps to fill a void inside you? It's a tough question, but it's necessary. Let me share a story from my own life. A few years ago, I had a close friend who was going through a breakup. I was there every night, talking to them on the phone for hours, bringing over food, canceling my own plans to make sure they weren't alone. When they finally healed and moved on, they slowly stopped calling. I felt hurt. I thought, after everything I did for you, how could you just move on without me? I realized I had turned my kindness into a silent contract, one they never agreed to sign. I expected loyalty in return for my support. It took me a while, and a lot of journaling, to understand that true kindness must be given freely. I chose to help because it felt right at the time. But the outcome was never mine to control. That realization changed my relationships forever. I started helping people because it matched the kind of person I want to be, not because I wanted them to owe me something. When you give from a place of abundance and self-respect, without strings attached, you protect your inner peace. You prevent resentment from growing like a silent weed in your heart. Epictetus teaches us to focus on the action itself. He says we cannot control how others will respond, and expecting otherwise only sets us up for pain. This wisdom is incredibly liberating if you embrace it fully. Ask yourself this: when I help someone, do I feel drained or fulfilled? If you feel drained, it might be because you're tying your kindness to their reaction. When kindness has no limit, it can become self-destructive. You start saying yes to every request, putting everyone else's needs above your own. You may even feel guilty when you finally say no. But what if I told you that setting limits doesn't make you less kind? It makes your kindness more genuine? Imagine kindness as a river. If the river has no banks, it floods everywhere, damaging everything in its path. But if it flows within strong, healthy boundaries, it nourishes the land, sustains life, and supports growth. Your kindness is the same. Without boundaries, it loses direction and power. With boundaries, it becomes a force of true good. Next time you feel guilty about saying no, remember, you're not closing your heart. You're protecting your energy so you can give in ways that are sustainable and meaningful. So how do you start practicing this? First, check your intentions before you give. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it aligns with my values, or because I want something in return? Second, let go of expectations. It's normal to want appreciation. We're human. But don't let your happiness depend on it. Third, honor your limits. Learn to say no gracefully. The people who truly love and respect you will understand. Those who don't? Their departure is a gift in disguise. When you start giving from a place of inner abundance, you'll notice a beautiful shift. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. Your acts of kindness will feel like pure expressions of your best self, not heavy transactions that leave you drained. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Let this guide you. If the act of kindness doesn't feel true to you in that moment, it's okay to step back. Today, I challenge you to think of one area in your life where your kindness might have crossed into self-sacrifice. Where have you expected something in return, even if you didn't say it out loud? Reflect on it, and imagine how different it might feel to give without expectation. What would it feel like to help someone simply because it resonates with your soul, and then walk away, free of resentment? This isn't easy work. It takes practice, self-awareness, and sometimes uncomfortable honesty with yourself. But it's worth it. When you embody this kind of kindness, you step into a new level of freedom. You become unshakable, rooted in your own values rather than the unpredictable reactions of the world around you. So don't let your kindness become a silent chain that binds you. Transform it into a gift, a pure offering from a place of strength and love. Be kind, but be kind wisely. Let your kindness uplift you as much as it uplifts others. Are you ready to redefine what kindness means in your life? Let's keep exploring this journey together. Part 3. There are no limits to requests you'll receive. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're always on call for everyone around you? Like you're the go-to person for every little crisis, no matter the time, no matter the cost to your own peace? It can feel good at first. You feel needed. You feel important. You feel like the glue that holds everyone else's life together. But slowly, something shifts. The calls and messages keep coming. The favors pile up. And before you realize it, your life becomes a series of other people's emergencies. In Stoicism, there's a powerful lesson about this exact trap. They warn us, there is no limit to the requests people will make of you. If you don't draw a line, they won't either. There's a story I love that perfectly illustrates this. Imagine a mother who loves her daughter more than anything. She wants to protect her, make her happy, and ensure she never struggles. So when her daughter is a child, the mother ties her shoes, packs her lunch, and picks up after her. As she grows older, the mother still steps in. She does her daughter's homework just this once, calls her professors when she's late, even pays her rent when she overspends. At first, the daughter might feel grateful, but over time, something dangerous happens. The daughter never learns to stand on her own. She never learns resilience, problem-solving, or how to face consequences. Then, one day, the mother is no longer there, and the daughter is left completely unprepared for life's realities. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man must stand erect, not be kept erect by others. When we constantly prop others up, we rob them of the chance to develop their own strength. And worse, we lose ourselves in the process." Think about this in your own life. Maybe it's a friend who always leans on you financially, a coworker who relies on you to cover their mistakes, a family member who expects you to solve every emotional meltdown. It starts as one small favor, then another, and another. Before long, you find yourself anxiously checking your phone, dreading the next request, wondering when you'll finally get a moment for yourself. Here's the hard truth. People will keep asking as long as you keep saying yes. Why? Because human nature seeks the path of least resistance. If you're always available to fix, to cover, to carry, most people, even well-intentioned ones, will let you. This doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means you've trained them to expect you to step in. And let's be real. Sometimes we enable this cycle because it feels good to be needed. It boosts our ego. It gives us a sense of purpose. But over time, it leaves us exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from our own needs and dreams. What if I told you that your true worth isn't measured by how many people you help or how many problems you solve? Your value doesn't come from being everyone's safety net. It comes from who you are, the virtues you embody, and the boundaries you set to protect your own energy and growth. When you allow someone else to lean on you too much, you unintentionally stunt their growth and diminish your own. You stop them from learning how to handle hardship, and you stop yourself from focusing on what truly matters in your life. Let's flip this idea. Imagine someone you admire deeply, a mentor, a coach, maybe even a parent. Do you admire them because they sacrificed everything to fix everyone else's problems? Or do you admire them because they had strong boundaries, a clear sense of self, and inspired you to become stronger on your own? Strength inspires strength. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what about compassion? Aren't we supposed to help each other? Of course. Stoicism doesn't teach us to abandon those we love. It teaches us to help in a way that empowers, not weakens. To support others without losing ourselves. To give guidance, but let others do the walking. Here's a practical example. Imagine your friend is struggling with job applications. Instead of writing their resume for them, sit with them, give them tips, help them practice interviews, but let them do the actual work. This way, you're supporting their growth, not carrying them through life. When you create space for others to rise on their own, they might struggle at first. They might even get frustrated with you. But in the long run, you're giving them one of the greatest gifts, independence. And you're giving yourself a gift too, the freedom to focus on your own journey, your own growth, your own peace. Ask yourself, how many times have I said yes when I really meant no? How many times have I sacrificed my time, my energy, or my mental health to hold someone else up? It's not selfish to step back. It's wise. It's necessary. Your time is finite. Your energy is precious. Every yes to someone else's request is a no to something in your own life, your health, your passions, your dreams. Imagine if you started honoring your no as much as your yes. Imagine the clarity, the freedom, the space you'd create. It won't be easy at first. People might push back. They might label you as selfish or changed. Let them. Over time, they'll learn to respect your boundaries. And if they don't, that's a powerful filter for who truly belongs in your life. Remember Marcus Aurelius's words. Stand on your own. Don't rely on others to keep you upright. And don't let others rely on you to the point where they can't stand alone either. Your ultimate goal isn't to become everyone's savior. Your goal is to become the strongest, most authentic version of yourself, and to inspire others to do the same. When you live this way, your help becomes more powerful. Your yes becomes a genuine gift, not a forced obligation. And the people you support will grow stronger because they'll learn to carry themselves, not just lean on you. Today, I challenge you. Identify one relationship or situation where you've become the permanent crutch. Ask yourself, am I helping them grow, or am I preventing them from learning to walk? Then take a small, courageous step to shift that dynamic. It might be as simple as pausing before you agree to help or suggesting they try handling it first on their own. Start small. Build from there. Each act of boundary setting is an act of self-respect and a gift to those around you. So, stop being the perpetual fixer. Stop being the endless safety net. Start being the strong, steady presence who inspires growth rather than enabling dependency. Are you ready to reclaim your time, your energy, and your sense of self? Are you ready to let others discover their own strength? And to stand tall beside them rather than holding them up? Let's keep moving forward on this journey together. Part 4. Being perceived as weak. Have you ever found yourself saying yes just because you were afraid of what people might think if you said no? Maybe you agreed to help with a project at work, even though you were already drowning in deadlines. Or maybe you agreed to host a party you didn't want to, lend money you didn't really have, or listen to a friend vent for hours when you desperately needed rest. In those moments, what are we really afraid of? Most of the time, it's not just about disappointing someone. Deep down, we're terrified of being seen as selfish, unreliable, or, perhaps worst of all, weak. We live in a world that praises the yes person, the one who's always available, always willing, always smiling no matter what. We've been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries is rude, that it pushes people away, or that it makes us look fragile. But what if I told you the opposite is true? When you don't set boundaries, you actually appear weaker, not stronger. You signal to the world that your time and energy are up for grabs, that your needs don't matter, and that you're willing to bend in every direction just to please others. People quickly learn this, and some, whether they mean to or not, will take advantage of it. They'll keep pushing because they know you'll keep giving. I want to share a personal story with you. A few years ago, I worked in an environment where everyone celebrated the helper. You know the type, the coworker who always stays late, covers shifts, takes on tasks no one else wants. That was me. I believed that by saying yes to everything, I would be seen as strong, reliable, and valuable. At first, it felt good. People praised me. They called me a team player. But slowly, I noticed something unsettling. My energy drained. My resentment grew. And worst of all, when I actually needed help, those same people vanished. It hit me. By constantly saying yes, I had trained them to see me as a resource, not as a person with limits and needs of my own. I wasn't earning respect. I was being used. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." Think about that. We spend so much energy managing how others perceive us, but at what cost? If we keep compromising our own well-being to maintain a polished image, we slowly lose our sense of self. When you start saying no, it feels terrifying at first. You might imagine people gossiping about you, thinking you're mean, cold, or unreliable. But over time, something magical happens. People begin to respect you more. Why? Because saying no demonstrates self-respect and self-awareness. It shows that you know your limits, you value your energy, and you have a strong sense of who you are. In psychology, there's a term called self-betrayal. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you betray yourself. You teach yourself that your own needs are less important than everyone else's. And with each act of self-betrayal, your inner confidence erodes. But every time you honor your true feelings, your self-trust grows stronger. You start to feel more solid, more authentic. You're no longer living a life shaped by fear of others' opinions. You're living a life shaped by your values. Here's a metaphor I love. Imagine your life as a beautiful garden. You've planted seeds of passion, joy, and dreams. But if you allow every passerby to wander in, pick flowers, trample plants, and help themselves to whatever they like, what will be left? Eventually, your garden becomes barren, and you're left wondering why nothing grows. Setting boundaries is like putting up a strong, beautiful fence. It doesn't mean you shut people out. It means you protect what's precious so it can keep blooming and so you can share its beauty in meaningful ways. Let's be honest. Saying no is an art form. It takes courage and practice. Start small. Next time someone asks you for a favor that drains you, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, does this align with my values? Do I genuinely want to do this, or am I afraid of how I'll be perceived? If the answer is no, practice saying it calmly and kindly. You don't need to over-explain. A simple, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I have to decline this time," is enough. Watch how people respond. You might be surprised. Some will respect you more. Others might push back, and that's okay. Their reaction is about them, not about you. Remember, every no to something that drains you is a yes to something that fills you up. Your passions, your rest, your loved ones, your personal growth. Over time, you'll find that people start valuing your yes more too, because it's no longer automatic. It's intentional and heartfelt. And here's a beautiful truth. When you stand firm in your boundaries, you attract relationships and opportunities that honor and uplift you, rather than those that drain and diminish you. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic, taught us to focus on what we can control. You can't control others' opinions, but you can control your choices, your energy, and your integrity. So, I invite you to reflect. How many times in your life have you traded your peace just to keep up appearances? How often have you sacrificed your joy to avoid seeming weak? True strength isn't about constant availability or endless sacrifice. True strength is quiet, firm, and deeply rooted in self-respect. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout or prove itself because it simply is. If you take away one message today, let it be this. Your worth isn't defined by how much you give away or how many people you please. It's defined by how deeply you honor yourself. As Seneca said, what you think of yourself matters more than what others think. So build a relationship with yourself that's built on respect, trust, and authenticity. Today, challenge yourself to choose one situation where you might normally say yes out of fear, and instead, honor your true feeling. Notice how it feels. Notice the small spark of freedom and power it gives you. That spark? That's the beginning of true strength. The kind of strength that radiates from within and can't be shaken by anyone else's opinions. So, are you ready to trade approval for self-respect? To stop being perceived as weak and start embodying quiet, unshakable power? Let's continue this journey together, one authentic no at a time.
Part 5. The importance of saying no and mastering your emotions. When was the last time you said yes, even though your gut screamed no? Maybe it was agreeing to a work project that you had no bandwidth for. Maybe it was attending an event when you really just wanted a quiet night at home. Or maybe it was lending money to someone when you knew deep down it would create more problems than it solved. Why do we do this? Why do we betray our own needs so easily? The fear of rejection runs deep. It's not just about the fear of disappointing someone, it's the fear of not being accepted, not being loved, not being enough in someone else's eyes. For many of us, this fear started in childhood. Maybe you were praised when you were good, when you obeyed, when you pleased others. Maybe you learned early on that love was conditional, tied to performance, sacrifice, and approval. Over time, these childhood lessons transform into adult habits. We become people pleasers, saying yes to everything to avoid conflict or disapproval. But here's the painful truth. Each time we say yes when we mean no, we chip away at our own self-respect. Stoicism teaches us something radical and liberating. You have complete freedom over your mind and your responses. You may not control what others do or say, but you absolutely control your own decisions and reactions. This idea isn't just philosophy. It's a superpower. Imagine a life where you aren't at the mercy of other people's opinions or approval. Imagine a life where your choices come from a deep alignment with your own values, not from fear or guilt. When you start practicing this, you realize that saying no isn't an act of aggression or selfishness. It's an act of honesty and self-preservation. But let's be real, saying no isn't easy. It might trigger guilt, anxiety, or even backlash from others who benefited from your constant yes. Let me share a story. I used to work with a colleague who was, by all appearances, the office superhero. She picked up extra shifts, fixed everyone's mistakes, stayed late, and even brought in baked goods to boost morale. Everyone adored her, but one day she had a breakdown. She sat in the break room, tears running down her face, saying she felt invisible and used. She confessed she was terrified to say no because she believed that if she stopped helping, she'd lose her value. She had built her entire identity around being the fixer, and the moment she needed help, no one showed up because they had never been trained to support her, only to take. That day was a wake-up call for all of us. Stoicism reminds us that your worth isn't defined by your willingness to carry other people's burdens. You're not here to be a perpetual fixer. You're here to live your own life fully, to grow, to create, to contribute from a place of wholeness, not depletion. Saying no is one of the most courageous acts you can take. It sets a boundary not just for others, but for yourself. It teaches you to honor your energy and protect your mental and emotional health. And what about emotions? Most of us believe emotions just happen to us, like unexpected storms. But Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control the first wave of feeling, we can absolutely choose how we respond. For example, if someone reacts badly to your no, you might feel immediate guilt or fear. That's normal. It's the first wave. But after that, you have a choice. You can spiral into self-blame, or you can breathe, step back, and remind yourself, their reaction is not my responsibility. When you master this, you become unshakable. Think of your mind as a fortress. Every no you say when it aligns with your truth is like reinforcing the walls. Every time you hold your ground instead of reacting to someone's disappointment, you strengthen your foundation. It doesn't mean you become cold or closed off. It means you become discerning. You learn to give from a place of genuine abundance, rather than obligation or fear. Here's something practical. Before you agree to any request, pause. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Do I truly have the capacity for this? 2. Does this align with my values and priorities right now? 3. Will I feel resentment afterward? If you answer no to the first 2 or yes to the third, it's time to consider declining. And when you do say no, say it with grace. You don't need to justify endlessly. A simple, "I appreciate you asking, but I can't commit to that right now," is powerful and clear. Remember, every time you choose yourself, you teach others how to treat you. You model self-respect and inspire others to find that same courage within themselves. Over time, you'll notice that your relationships become healthier. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't, they may drift away, and that's okay. Because your life isn't meant to be an endless series of sacrifices. It's meant to be a meaningful journey where you grow into your best self and contribute from a place of strength. So, I want to ask you, where in your life are you saying yes out of fear instead of authenticity? Where are you letting emotions dictate your actions rather than guiding them with wisdom? Take a moment today to reflect on this. Write it down. Start small. Maybe one small no this week where you'd normally cave in. You might feel uncomfortable at first, but I promise you, on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. A freedom that lets you breathe deeper, stand taller, and live truer to who you really are. As the Stoics remind us, you are the master of your mind, the guardian of your peace, and the author of your actions. Let's walk this path together, one honest no, and one mindful breath at a time.
Part 7. Put yourself first. Let me ask you a simple but powerful question. When was the last time you truly put yourself first? I don't mean that quick 5-minute break you took between meetings or that one day off you managed to squeeze in after months of burning out. I mean genuinely, wholeheartedly choosing yourself, your physical health, your mental clarity, your emotional peace, over the endless demands of the world around you. Most of us are taught that prioritizing ourselves is selfish. We're praised for being selfless, for constantly putting others first, for always being there no matter what. But let's be honest, how is that really working out for us? How many times have you ignored the signals your body was screaming at you, the headaches, the fatigue, the tension in your shoulders, just to finish one more task or support one more person? How many times have you brushed off your own feelings, telling yourself, "I'll deal with it later," or "it's not that important"? The truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you constantly neglect your own needs, you don't just hurt yourself, you also hurt the people you love. Because no matter how hard you try, you cannot show up as your best self when you're running on fumes. I remember a phase in my own life when I thought I was invincible. I took on extra projects at work, volunteered on weekends, stayed up late helping friends through breakups. I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor. I thought if I just pushed a little harder, I could be everything for everyone. But slowly, the cracks started to show. I got sick more often. I felt irritable and disconnected, even with people I deeply cared about. I stopped doing things that made me feel alive, reading, hiking, playing music. I lost touch with who I was outside of my responsibilities. One morning, after yet another sleepless night spent worrying about other people's problems, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. That was my wake-up call. I realized that putting myself last didn't make me a better friend, partner, or professional. It made me a shell of who I could be. Stoicism teaches us to protect our inner fortress, our mind, body, and spirit, because they are the foundation for everything we do. Without strong walls, the fortress collapses under the weight of external pressures. Putting yourself first doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you create a strong, stable foundation so that you can support others without losing yourself. Start with the basics: your physical health. Are you moving your body regularly? Are you feeding it with foods that nourish you rather than drain you? Are you sleeping enough, or do you keep sacrificing rest for one more thing on your to-do list? Then there's your mental health. Are you taking time to slow down, to breathe, to sit with your thoughts? Or are you constantly distracting yourself, numbing out with endless scrolling, TV, or work? And finally, your emotional health. Are you honoring your feelings, or pushing them aside to keep up appearances? Are you allowing yourself to process pain, joy, sadness, and excitement, or do you keep everything bottled up? When you start prioritizing these areas, you begin to build resilience from the inside out. You become more centered, more present, and more connected to your true self. Setting firm boundaries is a huge part of this journey. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about protecting your energy and preserving your well-being. Think about it: every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does: your rest, your passions, your health, your dreams. Imagine a friend calls you at midnight to vent about a problem you've already discussed 10 times. In the past, you might have stayed up, sacrificing your sleep and waking up exhausted. But what if instead, you kindly said, "I care about you, but I need to rest so I can show up for you fully tomorrow"? That's not selfish. That's wise. That's love, for them and for yourself. As you learn to put yourself first, you'll notice a shift. The people who truly respect and love you will honor your boundaries. They will learn to stand on their own feet, to solve their own problems, and to come to you not as a crutch but as a partner in connection. And those who push back or call you selfish? They're revealing themselves as people who benefited from your lack of boundaries, not from your true, authentic self. Putting yourself first is about reclaiming your life. It's about deciding that you are worthy of the same care and compassion you so freely give to others. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a series of small, brave choices every day. Maybe today it's going for a walk instead of taking that extra meeting. Maybe it's cooking yourself a healthy meal instead of skipping dinner because you're too busy. Maybe it's saying no to an event so you can stay home and recharge. These small acts add up. Over time, they rebuild the relationship you have with yourself, the most important relationship of all. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you choose to put yourself first, you claim that power. You stop letting life toss you around like a leaf in the wind, and you start living intentionally, grounded in your own values and needs. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what would my life look like if I truly put myself first? What would change? How would I feel? Sit with these questions. Write them down. Let them guide you toward small changes, one choice at a time. Remember, you deserve to be your own priority. You deserve to feel strong, vibrant, and whole. And when you do, you don't just uplift yourself, you uplift everyone around you in a deeper, more authentic way. Are you ready to take that first step? To start living from a place of self-respect and genuine care? Let's keep walking this journey together, one bold yes to yourself at a time. Part 8: Choosing who deserves your help. Have you ever felt completely drained after helping someone, like you gave so much of yourself that you had nothing left? And then maybe you realized, that person didn't even change, didn't even try to help themselves, and might not have even appreciated what you did. We've all been there. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn: you can't save everyone. No matter how big your heart is or how pure your intentions are, some people just aren't ready to change. Stoicism teaches us that kindness and generosity are virtues, but they must be guided by wisdom. Imagine kindness as a river. Without clear direction, it floods and destroys everything in its path. With boundaries, it nourishes and sustains life. Here's a story that really stuck with me. I once had a friend who was always in crisis, always. Lost jobs, messy breakups, endless drama. Every time they called, I'd drop everything. I believed that if I just kept showing up, they'd eventually find their footing. But after years of emotional support, late-night calls, and financial help, nothing changed. In fact, it got worse. One day, it hit me: I wanted their transformation more than they did. I was carrying them up a mountain they had no intention of climbing. That realization was painful but necessary. I learned that my endless help wasn't actually helping, it was enabling. This is where discernment comes in. Stoicism encourages us to combine our natural generosity with wisdom. Epictetus said that we should focus on what we can control, and we cannot control another person's willingness to change. So how do we decide who truly deserves our help? First, look for effort. Is this person actively trying to improve? Are they taking steps on their own, even small ones? Or do they just keep repeating the same patterns and using your energy as a safety net? If someone is genuinely trying, your help can be the extra push they need. But if they're stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage and excuses, your help might actually hold them back from learning the tough lessons they need. It sounds harsh, but there's a difference between supporting someone and carrying them. When we try to rescue everyone, we risk dying slowly, inside, our passions fade, our energy drains, and we lose sight of our own purpose. I want you to imagine your life force as a beautiful candle. Every act of kindness, every moment of support, is a small flame you offer. But if you keep giving that flame to people who don't protect it, who don't value it, eventually, your candle burns out. True kindness doesn't mean sacrificing yourself completely. It means sharing your light in a way that empowers both you and the person receiving it. Let's flip this around. Think about someone you admire, maybe a mentor, a coach, a strong friend. Why do you respect them? Chances are, they don't just give endlessly to everyone. They choose wisely where to invest their time and energy. That's what makes their support so meaningful. When you set clear standards for who deserves your help, you actually increase the value of your generosity. It's no longer just a reflex, it becomes an intentional gift. Next time someone asks for your help, pause. Ask yourself, is this person truly willing to help themselves? Am I giving from a place of strength, or am I trying to fix them so I feel needed? Will this act of help drain me or uplift me? These questions are powerful filters. They guide you away from empty sacrifice and toward conscious generosity. And here's the thing, saying no doesn't make you cold or unkind. It makes you wise. It protects your energy so you can show up fully for the people who are genuinely ready to receive and grow. Some people will not understand. They might call you selfish or accuse you of abandoning them. But remember, it's not your job to fix someone else's life. It's your job to live yours with integrity and compassion, and to help in ways that truly make a difference. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to focus on our own role, our own nature, and our own duty, not to get lost in trying to control other people's journeys. When you honor this, your acts of kindness become more impactful. You inspire real change, not just temporary relief. It also frees up space in your life for the things that matter most, your passions, your relationships with people who give back, and your own personal growth. I've noticed something beautiful happens when you start being more selective with your help. The people who truly value you step up. They respect your boundaries. They start to take more responsibility for their own growth. And your connection with them deepens in a way that constant rescuing never could. So today, I challenge you to reflect, where am I giving my energy out of obligation rather than intention? Who in my life is truly trying to change, and who is using my support as a crutch? Write it down. Be honest with yourself, even if it hurts. Then start making small shifts. Maybe it's gently stepping back from a relationship that constantly drains you. Maybe it's having an honest conversation about what kind of support you're willing to offer going forward. These aren't easy steps. But they are necessary if you want to live a life where your kindness uplifts rather than depletes. Remember, you are not a limitless resource. You are a human being with dreams, energy, and a purpose that deserve protection and nourishment. So, choose wisely who gets access to your light. Share it where it can truly grow and make a difference, not where it disappears into a bottomless well of endless problems. Are you ready to transform the way you give? To combine your natural kindness with the powerful discernment of Stoic wisdom? Let's keep walking this journey together, choosing who to help, how to help, and, most importantly, remembering to help ourselves along the way. Part 9, Master your mind, stop caring about what others think. Have you ever stopped yourself from doing something you loved because you were afraid of what people might think? Maybe it was posting a piece of art online, sharing a personal story, starting a new business, or even wearing that outfit you really loved. How many dreams have been buried, how many passions suffocated, just because we worried about the opinions of others? We live in a world obsessed with external validation. Social media likes, follower counts, comments, these numbers have become modern measures of worth. But the truth is, the only approval you ever really need is your own. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said it perfectly: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Let that sink in. You can't control what people think, what they say, or how they react. You can only control your own thoughts and actions. When you truly embrace this, a whole new world of freedom opens up. I want to share a story that beautifully illustrates this idea. There was a young artist I knew, incredibly talented, full of ideas, and with a unique style that didn't fit traditional molds. But for years, she hesitated to share her work publicly. She kept her paintings hidden in her small studio, showing them only to close friends. Why? Because she was terrified of judgment. What if people thought her work was weird? What if they laughed or criticized her style? One day, after a particularly tough week, she sat alone in her studio and asked herself a simple but life-changing question: whose life am I living? Mine or theirs? That question hit her hard. She realized she had been living in a prison made of other people's opinions, a prison she had built herself. She decided to take a leap. She started posting her art online, sharing her process, her failures, her raw thoughts. Yes, there were critics. But to her surprise, there were also countless people who resonated deeply with her work. They felt inspired, connected, and encouraged to express themselves too. More importantly, she felt free. Free to create without permission. Free to explore without fear. Free to truly live her own life. This is the power of mastering your mind. When you stop giving power to external voices, you reclaim your energy. You start living authentically, rather than performing for an invisible audience. Imagine the energy you'd save if you stopped replaying other people's opinions in your head. Imagine the joy you'd feel if you created, acted, and lived purely for yourself, aligned with your own values, passions, and purpose. I know this isn't easy. We're social creatures. We crave belonging. It's natural to want to be liked and accepted. But there's a big difference between healthy connection and living in constant fear of disapproval. When you let go of that fear, you give yourself permission to become the fullest version of yourself. And ironically, that authenticity attracts the right people into your life, those who love you not for who you pretend to be, but for who you truly are. Marcus Aurelius didn't just preach this idea, he lived it. As an emperor, he faced immense pressure to please the masses, to be seen as strong, flawless, and wise. But in his private writings, he constantly reminded himself that his true duty was to his own inner character, not to public applause. He wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that. We love ourselves more than anyone else, yet we often act as if strangers' fleeting opinions matter more than our own inner truth. Here's a question for you: what would you do today if no one else's opinion mattered? Would you start that side project you've been dreaming of? Would you finally publish that book, start that YouTube channel, or take that solo trip? Would you speak your truth in that relationship, or make that career change? Write it down. Sit with it. Then take one small step toward it. When you learn to master your mind and detach from external judgment, every choice becomes lighter. You no longer carry the heavy weight of "what will they think" on your shoulders. You act from a place of clarity and self-respect. Of course, criticism will still come. But you'll see it differently. Instead of viewing it as a personal attack, you'll see it as data, something to consider or discard, but never something that defines your worth. This mental shift doesn't just liberate you, it strengthens you. You become more resilient, more creative, and more alive. You might lose some people along the way, those who preferred the version of you that always sought their approval. But that's okay. The space they leave behind will be filled with deeper, more genuine connections. So today, I invite you to practice a simple but powerful exercise. When you catch yourself worrying about what someone might think, pause and ask, is this thought helping me grow, or is it holding me back? If it's holding you back, gently release it. Remind yourself, I control my mind. I decide what matters to me. I live my life, not theirs. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you build inner strength. You become the artist of your own life, painting with bold colors rather than timid strokes. Remember, your life is your canvas. Don't let the fear of others' opinions keep you from creating your masterpiece. Are you ready to take back the brush? To step into your power and live from a place of inner freedom? Let's keep walking this journey together, one courageous, authentic step at a time. Part 10: Building Emotional Resilience. Let me start with a quote that might change how you look at every challenge in your life. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. When you hear this, what comes to mind? Maybe it's that time you failed at something you wanted so badly. Maybe it's the heartbreak that left you questioning your worth. Or that job you didn't get, that business that collapsed, that dream that slipped through your fingers. We live in a world that celebrates success but rarely talks about the struggles and setbacks that shape us. We see the highlight reels on social media, the wins, the trophies, the smiling faces, and we start to believe that struggle is a sign of weakness or failure. But Stoicism teaches us something radically different. It reminds us that hardship isn't just inevitable, it's necessary. It's the friction that sharpens us, that forces us to grow beyond our comfort zones, that molds us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate people. Let me share a story about a friend of mine, an entrepreneur who started his own tech company. When he first launched, he was full of excitement and confidence. Investors were interested, friends cheered him on, and he felt unstoppable. But soon, reality hit. Sales didn't take off as planned, a key partner backed out, and he made a few costly mistakes that nearly tanked the company. At one point, he had to let go of most of his team. He worked alone from his kitchen table, surviving on instant noodles and sleeping only a few hours a night. He told me there were moments when he seriously considered giving up and going back to a safe corporate job. But instead of running away from the pain, he chose to face it head-on. He studied his failures meticulously, asked tough questions, sought feedback, and rebuilt from the ground up. Years later, his company finally started to thrive. But more importantly, he became a completely different person, more humble, more grounded, and more resilient than he ever thought possible. He told me, "The failures didn't break me. They built me." That's emotional resilience. Emotional resilience isn't about never feeling pain. It's about your ability to move through it, to learn from it, and to come out stronger on the other side. It's like going to the gym. You don't build muscle by lifting feathers. You build it by challenging yourself, pushing through resistance, and allowing tiny tears in your muscles to repair and grow stronger. The same goes for your emotional muscles. Every disappointment, every rejection, every setback is a chance to train your resilience. But here's the secret: it's not automatic. You have to choose it. You have to choose to see challenges as opportunities rather than punishments. You have to ask, "What is this teaching me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that for a second. The obstacle isn't in your way, it is the way. It's the path to growth, to wisdom, to true strength. When you adopt this mindset, you stop fearing failure. You stop seeing setbacks as permanent scars and start seeing them as stepping stones. Another piece of this puzzle is self-compassion. Resilience isn't about being hard on yourself or pretending you're not hurting. It's about allowing yourself to feel the pain without letting it define you. Ask yourself, when I face a setback, do I beat myself up endlessly, or do I treat myself with kindness, as I would a friend? Imagine you had a friend who just went through a big failure. Would you tell them they're worthless, that they'll never succeed, that they should give up? Of course not. You'd encourage them, remind them of their strengths, and help them see the bigger picture. So why do we treat ourselves so differently? True emotional resilience is a balance of toughness and tenderness. It's the courage to keep going and the softness to forgive yourself along the way. Here's a practical exercise you can try. The next time something doesn't go your way, instead of spiraling into self-criticism, write down 3 things the situation is teaching you. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's the importance of preparation. Maybe it's revealing where your true passions lie. This simple practice transforms pain into wisdom, and wisdom into power. Over time, as you keep doing this, you'll start to look at life's challenges differently. You'll start to welcome them, not because they're comfortable, but because you know they're making you stronger. Another key element of resilience is community. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, who remind you of your potential when you forget, who encourage you to get back up after you fall. If you're constantly around people who shame you for your struggles or who expect perfection, it becomes much harder to build true resilience. Find your tribe. People who celebrate your victories and stand with you in your defeats. So today, I want you to reflect, what challenge in my life right now could actually be shaping me into a better version of myself? What if this obstacle is exactly what I need to grow? Write it down. Sit with it. Start to see it not as an enemy, but as a tough but wise teacher. Remember, your life is not defined by the number of times you fall, but by the number of times you choose to rise. You are stronger than you think. You have survived every bad day so far. You have faced storms and are still standing. A gem shines brightest not despite the friction but because of it. So, are you ready to stop fearing the grind and start embracing it? To see every setback as a setup for your next breakthrough? Let's walk this path together, one challenge, one lesson, and one rise after the fall at a time. Part 11, Harnessing the Power of Perception. Let me share with you one of the most powerful ideas that completely changed my life, and it might change yours too. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." Take a moment to really let that sink in. It's not the events themselves that upset us, it's the meaning we attach to them. Think about it. Two people can face the exact same situation and have completely different reactions. One person might see losing a job as the end of the world. Another might see it as the push they needed to finally pursue their true passion. The event is the same, but the perception changes everything. We often forget just how powerful our minds really are. We think we're victims of circumstances, trapped by external events. But the truth is, our greatest freedom lies in our ability to choose our perspective. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this beautifully. A friend of mine was an avid runner. Running was his therapy, his escape, his daily ritual that kept him grounded. One day, during a marathon, he seriously injured his knee. The doctors told him he might never run again. At first, he spiraled into depression. Running was his identity, and without it, he felt lost. But slowly, he started asking himself, what can I do with this? How can I turn this pain into something meaningful? He began exploring other forms of movement, swimming, yoga, even meditation. He discovered new communities, made new friends, and eventually started coaching other athletes who were recovering from injuries. Years later, he told me, that injury felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it turned out to be the beginning of a whole new life I never could have imagined. This is the power of perception in action. When you shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this trying to teach me?" everything changes. Obstacles turn into teachers. Pain becomes a doorway to growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." It sounds almost paradoxical, but your biggest challenges often contain the exact lessons you need to evolve into the person you're meant to become. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about acknowledging the reality, feeling the emotions, and then asking, how can I use this? How can I grow from this? Imagine looking at your life as a story, and you're both the author and the main character. Every plot twist, every setback, every unexpected turn is an opportunity to write a more powerful narrative. If you think back on your life, some of your most meaningful moments likely came from unexpected struggles. Maybe a heartbreak forced you to rediscover who you really are. Maybe a job loss pushed you to start that business you'd always dreamed about. Maybe a health scare led you to appreciate life in a way you never had before. When we get stuck in seeing problems only as roadblocks, we limit ourselves. But when we learn to see them as stepping stones, we open doors to possibilities we never thought existed. Here's a practical way to start shifting your perception today. When you encounter a problem, pause and write it down. Then, under it, write 3 possible ways this could be an opportunity. For example, I didn't get the promotion. Possible opportunities, time to learn new skills, explore different paths, or finally launch that side project. My relationship ended. Possible opportunities, space to reconnect with yourself, time to focus on passions, room to attract a more aligned partner. I failed at something important. Possible opportunities, a chance to build resilience, to gain clarity on what truly matters, to innovate and try a new approach. This practice isn't about toxic positivity or denying that things can hurt. It's about empowering yourself to see beyond the immediate pain and tap into your inner strength. Over time, this mental muscle gets stronger. You start to face life with more courage and curiosity. You begin to trust that no matter what happens, you have the ability to transform it into something meaningful. People might ask, but isn't this just lying to yourself? Not at all. You're not changing the facts, you're changing your relationship to them. You're choosing to respond rather than react. You're deciding to become the creator of your life, rather than just a passive participant. Imagine the freedom in that. Instead of fearing every possible setback, you start to welcome challenges as invitations to evolve. You stop living in constant defense mode and start playing offense in your own life. So today, I invite you to reflect, what in your life right now feels like an obstacle? And what if, just what if, that very thing is actually a disguised gift? Write it down. Sit with it. Ask yourself how you can turn it into an opportunity for growth, for connection, for deeper purpose. You are far more powerful than you realize. And your greatest power lies in your ability to choose how you see the world, how you interpret your experiences, and how you turn every moment into a building block for your future self. Epictetus gave us this gift of wisdom centuries ago, but it's more relevant now than ever. In a world that constantly throws challenges our way, the ability to reframe and reclaim our narrative is a superpower. Are you ready to wield it? Let's keep walking this path together, one new perspective, one shift in mindset, and one transformed obstacle at a time. Part 12, Living in Accordance with Nature. Have you ever found yourself resisting change with every fiber of your being? Maybe it was the end of a relationship you thought would last forever. Or a career shift you didn't see coming. Or even the slow, subtle changes of aging, of watching time alter your body and your dreams. We're wired to crave stability. We want things to stay predictable, to feel secure. But if there's one constant in life, it's this: everything changes. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most profound Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor who understood change better than anyone, wrote, "Life is change. Growth is a process of change. To resist change is to resist life itself." When I first read that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because for so much of my life, I fought change. I clung to routines, to relationships, to old versions of myself long past their expiration dates. Why? Because change felt scary. It felt like stepping into the unknown without a map. But what if, instead of resisting, we embraced change as nature's way of guiding us forward? Think about the seasons. No tree tries to cling to its leaves in winter. No flower refuses to bloom in spring. Nature teaches us that transformation is not only natural but necessary. It's how life renews itself, how new opportunities are born, how we grow stronger and wiser. Let me share a story. A friend of mine had been in the same corporate job for over a decade. It was safe, predictable, and paid well. But deep down, he felt restless. He'd always dreamed of starting his own creative business, but fear kept him stuck. Then, unexpectedly, his department was shut down. At first, he panicked. The stability he had clung to was gone overnight. But after the initial shock, something shifted. He finally had the space, and the push, to follow his true passion. He started small, freelancing, building his brand, connecting with people who inspired him. Slowly, his creative business took off. Years later, he told me losing that job was the best thing that ever happened to him. What seemed like a devastating loss turned out to be the catalyst for the life he truly wanted. This is the beauty of aligning ourselves with nature. When we stop fighting what is, we make room for what could be. Marcus Aurelius also said, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things that are and to make new things like them." Change isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. So how do we start to truly embrace it? First, we practice acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity or giving up. It means seeing reality clearly, without layering it with our fears and judgments. Ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? What change am I afraid to face? Write it down. Acknowledge it. Second, focus on what you can control within the change. You may not control the external event, the breakup, the layoff, the unexpected move, but you can control your response. When you shift your focus from fighting to adapting, you reclaim your power. Third, reframe change as opportunity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How is this happening for me?" Maybe this change is inviting you to grow, to let go of old patterns, to step into a more authentic version of yourself. And lastly, remember to be gentle with yourself. Embracing change isn't about never feeling fear or grief. It's about feeling those emotions fully, and then choosing to move forward anyway. Think of a river. It flows, curves, adapts to the rocks and bends, but it always moves forward. That's what living in accordance with nature looks like. When you resist, you become like a dam, blocking your own flow, building pressure until something breaks. But when you flow with change, you find freedom, peace, and a deeper sense of trust in yourself and in life. I want you to imagine your life 5 years from now. What if you stopped resisting change today? What new adventures might open up? What new strengths might you discover within yourself? What kind of person could you become? Write it down. Visualize it. Let that vision inspire you. Nature isn't static. You aren't meant to be either. Your job isn't to freeze yourself in place or cling to old versions of yourself. Your job is to evolve, to become more fully alive, more fully you, with each passing season. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayals, sickness, and loss. Yet he continued to remind himself that all things are fleeting, and it is our response to change that defines our character. So today, I invite you to take one small step toward embracing the changes in your life. Maybe it's letting go of a belief that no longer serves you. Maybe it's finally taking that leap toward a new dream. Maybe it's simply saying to yourself, "I trust myself to adapt." Remember, change is not here to break you. It's here to shape you. Are you ready to step into the flow? To let go of resistance and discover the incredible strength and beauty that lies on the other side? Let's keep walking this journey together, one brave adaptation, one gentle acceptance, and one bold new beginning at a time. Part 13, Self-Discipline, the art of becoming your best self. Let me start with a powerful quote from Epictetus that hits right at the heart of today's topic: "No great thing is created suddenly." We live in an age of instant gratification. Same-day shipping, instant likes, on-demand everything. We're conditioned to want results now, to expect transformation overnight. But here's the truth: anything truly meaningful, anything truly great, is built slowly, patiently, and intentionally. Think about a towering oak tree. It doesn't sprout to full height in a week. It takes decades of sun, storms, and seasons to become strong and majestic. Your character, your dreams, your potential, they're the same. Self-discipline is the soil in which that greatness grows. But what does self-discipline really mean? It's not about punishing yourself or living like a monk in the mountains. It's about aligning your daily actions with your highest values, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Self-discipline is the quiet commitment you make to yourself when no one's watching. It's getting up early to work on your goals, even when the bed feels warm and cozy. It's choosing a nourishing meal when every part of you craves junk food. It's saying no to distractions so you can say yes to your bigger vision. Let me share a story. A few years ago, I met a young musician. Incredibly talented, but he struggled to stay consistent. He would practice for days in a row and then disappear into parties and distractions for weeks. He complained about not making progress, about feeling stuck, about others getting lucky while he fell behind. One day, he decided to change. He created a daily practice schedule. Rain or shine, good mood or bad, he stuck to it. Over time, his skills skyrocketed. He started performing in bigger venues, collaborating with respected artists, and slowly built a loyal following. Years later, people called him an overnight success. But he knew, and I knew, it was years of small, disciplined choices that no one saw. That's the thing, self-discipline isn't glamorous. You won't get a round of applause for skipping a party to work on your craft. No one will throw you a parade for choosing the gym over another Netflix binge. But those small, invisible moments? That's where greatness is born. Epictetus taught that discipline is freedom. It might sound like a contradiction, but it's true. Without discipline, you're a slave to your impulses, to every fleeting mood, every temptation. With discipline, you reclaim control. You decide the direction of your life instead of drifting wherever the current takes you. Ask yourself, what do I want most deeply? Then ask, what am I willing to do consistently, even when I don't feel like it, to make that a reality? Because here's another hard truth, feelings are fleeting. Motivation comes and goes. If you rely on feeling inspired every day, you'll never finish what you start. Discipline steps in where motivation drops out. It's the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become. Think about athletes. They don't become champions by training only when they're in the mood. They show up day after day, pushing through discomfort, boredom, and setbacks. Or writers. They don't publish books by writing only when they feel a spark. They sit down, put in the hours, and wrestle with the blank page, word by word. Whatever your dream is, building a business, writing a book, getting in shape, learning a new skill, it will ask for your consistent effort. But here's the beautiful part, every act of self-discipline builds trust with yourself. When you say, I'll do this, and you follow through, even in small ways, you teach yourself that your word matters. You strengthen your self-respect. You become someone you can count on. And that feeling? That's real confidence. Not the loud, performative kind that depends on other people's applause, but the quiet, unwavering kind that comes from knowing you keep your promises to yourself. Of course, this doesn't mean you won't slip. We all do. There will be days you fall short, days you give in to distractions, days you feel like you've lost progress. What matters most is how you respond. Do you throw in the towel and label yourself a failure? Or do you get back up, reflect on what happened, and keep going? Self-discipline is less about being perfect and more about being persistent. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So today, instead of planning endlessly or waiting for the perfect moment, take one small disciplined action toward your goal. Start with something simple. Write one paragraph if you're working on a book. Practice for 10 minutes if you're learning an instrument. Go for a short walk if you're building a fitness habit. The key is consistency, not intensity. Over time, these small steps compound into massive change. As you continue this journey, remember, no great thing is created suddenly. Your best self is built brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. Every disciplined act is a vote for the person you want to become. So, what vote will you cast today? Are you ready to step beyond your moods, beyond the comfort zone, beyond the quick fixes, and truly commit to the slow, steady path of greatness? Let's keep walking this path together, one small, powerful choice at a time. Part 14, Living Fully in the Present Moment. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you were truly present? Not just physically there, but fully engaged, heart and mind in the moment, completely alive to what was happening right in front of you. Most of us spend our days living everywhere except here and now. We're replaying old mistakes in our heads, worrying about the future, or daydreaming about what we wish life looked like. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, said it beautifully, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. Think about that. How much of our unhappiness comes from regrets about the past or fears about what might come next? We let precious moments slip away while our minds are trapped in timelines that don't even exist anymore. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine always dreamed of traveling the world. She spent years planning, saving, and watching endless videos about exotic places. When she finally took the leap and started her journey, she found herself constantly worrying, what if I get sick? What if I run out of money? What if this isn't what I imagined? Instead of savoring the sunsets in Bali or the markets in Morocco, she spent most of her trip stuck in her head, missing the magic right in front of her. It wasn't until one evening, sitting by a quiet lake in Switzerland, that it hit her. She watched the water ripple under the moonlight and realized how many experiences she had let pass by. That night, she made a promise to herself, to truly be wherever she was, to taste every bite, to feel every breeze, to really listen when someone spoke. When she returned home, she told me it was like she had finally woken up after years of sleepwalking. This is what living fully in the present looks like. When we focus on the moment, life becomes richer and more vibrant. The food tastes better. Conversations feel deeper. Even small, everyday moments, like sipping coffee in the morning or feeling the sun on your skin, become sources of joy. But it's not just about pleasure. Living in the present also makes us stronger. When you're here, right now, you're not weighed down by guilt or anxiety. You're focused on what you can actually do and control. The Stoics teach us to focus only on what is within our power. The past? Gone. The future? Not here yet. All we truly have is this moment. Ask yourself, what can I do today, in this very moment, that aligns with the life I want to build? It could be as simple as taking a deep breath before reacting to a difficult situation. Or choosing to enjoy a walk without headphones, just listening to the world around you. Or looking your loved ones in the eye when they talk, really hearing them instead of thinking about your to-do list. Here's a practical exercise I love. At any point during the day, pause and ask yourself, where am I? Not just physically, but mentally. Are you in the middle of an argument from last week? Worrying about a meeting next month? Or are you right here, grounded, feeling your breath, noticing the colors around you? When you realize you've drifted away, gently guide yourself back, no judgment, no frustration. Over time, this simple practice can completely transform your relationship with life. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the future or never learning from the past. It means not being controlled by them. You can plan for the future, but don't live there. You can learn from the past, but don't set up camp there. Seneca also warned against wasting life. He wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them." How many times have we rushed through days, always waiting for some future milestone to finally start living? The weekend, the next promotion, the next vacation. Meanwhile, life is happening all around us, passing by unnoticed. What if you decided to stop waiting? What if you treated every day as a complete story in itself, not just a stepping stone to something else? Imagine the peace you'd feel if you let go of the constant mental chatter about what should have been or what might be. Imagine the freedom of simply being, fully and unapologetically, where you are. When you live this way, even the simplest moments feel sacred. You start to notice beauty everywhere, in the sound of rain against the window, in the way a stranger smiles at you, in the warmth of a cozy blanket on a cold morning. And here's the most beautiful part: when you live in the present, you naturally create a better future. Because all the future is, really, is a collection of present moments. Take care of the moments, and the years take care of themselves. So today, I invite you to try something small but powerful. Pick one activity, maybe your morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, or a walk outside. For that moment, be completely present. Put away your phone. Let go of thinking about what's next. Just be there. Feel the warmth of the cup, listen to the words being said, notice the colors and sounds around you. It might feel strange at first, almost uncomfortable. But stay with it. Slowly, you'll start to experience a depth and richness you may not have felt in years. As Seneca said, true happiness isn't found in some distant future or buried in past regrets. It's right here, waiting for you, in this moment. Are you ready to stop waiting for life to begin and start truly living it, one breath, one moment, one heartbeat at a time? Let's keep walking this path together, fully present, fully alive, fully here. Part 15, Finding Your Growth Community. Let me start with a beautiful thought from Marcus Aurelius: humans are made for one another. Teach them or endure them. We are wired for connection. We are born into this world not to stand alone, but to grow together, to teach and learn from each other, to support and challenge one another. But let me ask you something: who do you spend most of your time with? Are they people who inspire you, who push you to grow, who challenge you to be your best self? Or are they people who drain your energy, keep you stuck in old patterns, and hold you back from your true potential? There's a saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. Really think about it. If you surround yourself with people who complain, who live in fear, who settle for less than they deserve, it becomes almost impossible not to absorb that mindset. On the other hand, if you spend time with people who are driven, kind, curious, and open-minded, their energy lifts you higher. I remember a time in my life when I felt stuck. I had big dreams and big ideas, but I was surrounded by people who didn't understand them, or worse, mocked them. Whenever I shared something I was excited about, I'd hear, "That's unrealistic," or "Why don't you just be happy with what you have?" At first, I listened. I shrank my dreams to fit the expectations of the people around me. But deep down, I felt a constant ache, like I was living someone else's life. One day, I decided to make a change. I started seeking out people who were on a similar journey. I joined local meetups, online communities, workshops. I found people who lit up when I shared my ideas, who offered constructive feedback instead of criticism, who celebrated my small wins as if they were their own. Everything changed. My mindset shifted. My confidence grew. My ideas turned into actions, and those actions turned into results. That's the power of finding your growth community. A good community isn't just a group of people to hang out with. It's a living, breathing ecosystem of inspiration, accountability, and support. It's where your best ideas are born and nurtured, where your setbacks are softened by understanding, and where your victories are multiplied by shared joy. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He believed that human beings are here to help each other, to teach, to guide, to endure, and to uplift. But here's the thing, finding a true growth community isn't always easy. It might mean outgrowing old friendships. It might mean stepping out of your comfort zone and showing up to places where you don't know anyone. It might mean being vulnerable, sharing your dreams before they're fully formed. It's scary. But it's worth it. When you find your people, the ones who see your potential even when you can't, who hold you to a higher standard, who remind you of your strength on your darkest days, you become unstoppable. So how do you start? First, get clear on what kind of person you want to become. What values matter most to you? What kind of life do you want to build? Then, seek out spaces where those values are celebrated. It could be a mastermind group, a book club, a fitness class, an art collective, a volunteer organization. It might even be an online community if you don't have access locally. Be proactive. Don't wait for the right people to magically show up at your door. Put yourself out there. Reach out. Show up consistently. And when you do, be the kind of community member you'd want to find. Offer support, share your knowledge, celebrate others' successes, and listen without judgment. Over time, you'll start to build bonds that go beyond surface-level connections. You'll create a network of people who not only understand your journey but actively contribute to it. Here's a simple exercise: write down 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, write one word that describes how they make you feel or what they bring into your life. Are those words uplifting or draining? If you notice that your circle isn't supporting your growth, don't panic. This doesn't mean you have to cut people off cold turkey. It means you become intentional about where you invest your energy and who you let influence your mindset. Remember, building a growth community doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey of small, consistent steps, showing up, being open, taking risks, and staying true to your values. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual. This is the essence of a true growth community, mutual upliftment. So today, ask yourself, what kind of community would help me become my best self? Who are the people I want to learn from and grow with? Then, take one small step toward finding them. Join that class. Send that message. Show up to that event. Because while personal growth is a deeply individual journey, it doesn't have to be a lonely one. In fact, it shouldn't be. Humans are not meant to climb mountains alone. We're meant to climb together, to lend a hand when someone slips, to share the view when we reach the summit. Are you ready to find your people? To build a circle that challenges, supports, and celebrates you? Let's keep walking this path together, one connection, one conversation, and one courageous step at a time. Part 16, 10 Keys to Unlocking Exceptional Intelligence. If I told you there was a blueprint, a set of keys, to unlock a level of intelligence and mental clarity beyond what you think is possible, would you take it? Let's be real. We often think intelligence is something fixed, you're either born with it or not. But that's one of the biggest myths out there. True intelligence isn't just about IQ or memorizing facts. It's about how you approach life, how you think, how you grow, and how you interact with the world. So today, I want to share with you 10 keys to developing exceptional intelligence, not just to sound smart at parties, but to live a richer, deeper, more fulfilling life. Key number 1, cultivate curiosity. Curiosity is the foundation of all learning. Children naturally ask, why, 1,000 times a day, but somewhere along the line, we learn to stop asking. We start accepting things at face value. What if you brought that childlike curiosity back? Ask questions about everything. Why does this system work this way? How does that technology function? Why do I feel this way in certain situations? Curiosity doesn't just expand your knowledge, it keeps your mind alive and open. Key number 2, read widely and diversely. Reading is like a workout for your mind. But don't limit yourself to one genre or one perspective. Read fiction to explore human emotions, philosophy to challenge your beliefs, science to understand the world, biographies to learn from lives well lived. Imagine your mind as a garden, every book you read plants a new seed. Over time, you grow a rich, diverse forest of ideas and insights. Key number 3, embrace a growth mindset. Carol Dweck introduced us to the idea of a growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed with effort and dedication. When you adopt this mindset, failure doesn't scare you anymore. Instead of saying, I'm just not good at this, you say, I can learn this with practice. Think about the doors that open when you stop believing your limits are set in stone. Key number 4, learn from failure. We all mess up. But what separates exceptional thinkers from the rest is their ability to analyze failure and learn from it. Instead of beating yourself up, ask, what went wrong? What can I do differently next time? Failure isn't a dead end, it's a teacher. And sometimes, it's the most honest teacher you'll ever have. Key number 5, practice critical thinking. Don't take information at face value. Question sources, examine evidence, look for biases, even your own. In a world overflowing with opinions, learning to think critically is a superpower. It protects you from manipulation and helps you make clear, thoughtful decisions. Key number 6, master active listening. We often listen to reply, not to understand. But active listening means truly hearing someone's words, observing their tone and body language, and being fully present. Next time you're in a conversation, challenge yourself, can you repeat what the other person said in your own words before responding? You'll be surprised how much deeper your connections become. Key number 7, develop problem-solving skills. Life is a series of problems waiting to be solved. From everyday inconveniences to big life decisions, how you approach problems shapes your success. Break problems down. Look at them from different angles. Ask for feedback. A strong problem-solving ability turns obstacles into opportunities, and empowers you to handle whatever life throws your way. Key number 8, encourage creativity and innovation. Intelligence isn't just logical, it's creative. Give yourself space to experiment. Write, draw, build, brainstorm wild ideas without worrying if they're good or practical. Remember, some of the world's greatest breakthroughs started as ideas that seemed completely crazy at first. Key number 9, love lifelong learning. The most intelligent people know they'll never know it all. They remain humble and open, hungry for new ideas and experiences. Sign up for that course. Try that new hobby. Travel somewhere new. Learn a new language. Learning isn't a phase you finish after school, it's a lifelong adventure that keeps your mind young and your spirit vibrant. Key number 10, seek out diverse perspectives. One of the most powerful ways to grow is to engage with people who think differently from you. Listen to people from different cultures, backgrounds, and belief systems. Instead of arguing or shutting down, ask, why do they see it this way? What can I learn from their point of view? This doesn't mean you have to agree, but it broadens your understanding and deepens your empathy. When you start living by these keys, you transform your mind into something agile, open, and resilient. You become someone who doesn't just survive life, you thrive in it, adapting, growing, and constantly evolving. Imagine the person you could become if you stopped saying, "I can't," and started saying, "I'm learning." Imagine the confidence you'd feel knowing that no matter what happens, you have the tools to learn, adapt, and overcome. So today, I challenge you, pick one of these keys and put it into practice. Just one. Maybe it's listening more deeply in your next conversation, or picking up a book you wouldn't normally choose, or reflecting on a recent failure to find the lesson hidden inside. Write it down. Commit to it. And watch what happens. Because intelligence isn't something you're given, it's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. Are you ready to unlock yours? Let's keep walking this journey together, one curious question, one brave failure, and one new insight at a time. Conclusion: what kind of life do you want to live? Let me ask you one simple, but life-altering question: what kind of life do you want to live? Not what your parents wanted. Not what society expects. Not what looks good on social media. I mean you, deep down, when it's quiet and you're alone with your thoughts, what kind of life calls to you? For so many of us, we drift through our days on autopilot. We let old habits, outside opinions, and fears steer the wheel. We settle into mediocrity because it's comfortable, because it's safe, because it doesn't require us to confront who we could actually become. But think about this: how many years of your life have you spent just existing instead of truly living? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus gave us a challenge that still echoes today: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's it. Declare who you want to become. Then build it, moment by moment, choice by choice. No more hiding. No more shrinking to fit into boxes that were never meant for you. No more being paralyzed by overthinking, by what-ifs, by that endless loop of doubt that keeps you stuck exactly where you are. Do you want to be someone who lives boldly? Someone who faces challenges head-on, who loves deeply, who acts with integrity and courage? Or do you want to keep playing it small, postponing your dreams until, someday, a day that may never come? It's easy to blame circumstances, to point fingers at luck or timing or other people's actions. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing: your commitment to yourself. Commit to leaving mediocrity behind. Commit to rising above disappointment and self-doubt. Commit to stepping into the life you've imagined, even if it terrifies you. Especially if it terrifies you. Every single day, you have a choice. You can keep drifting, or you can live consciously. You can react to life, or you can create it. When you choose awareness, when you choose to act in alignment with your highest values, life starts to transform. Imagine waking up each morning and asking yourself, what can I do today to move closer to the person I want to be? Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you. Maybe it's finally signing up for that class, starting that business, writing that first page. The truth is, the gap between who you are and who you want to become isn't filled with big, heroic leaps. It's built from small, brave decisions stacked on top of each other, day after day. Think about what you want your legacy to be. When you look back years from now, do you want to say, "I played it safe," or do you want to say, "I gave it everything I had"? The people we admire most, the thinkers, creators, leaders, they didn't get there by chance. They committed to a vision and took consistent, intentional action toward it. They stumbled, they failed, they doubted themselves, but they kept going. Your story can be that story too. Remember, you don't need permission to become who you're meant to be. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, because there isn't one. The perfect moment is the moment you decide to act. Epictetus reminded us that becoming isn't just about dreaming, it's about doing. About aligning your actions with your deepest truths. About living each day as if it matters, because it does. So I ask you again, what kind of life do you want to live? What values will you embody? What battles are you willing to fight? What mountains are you willing to climb, even if you're scared of falling? This is your invitation to step into your power. To let go of the noise, the self-sabotage, the stories that no longer serve you. To embrace resilience, clarity, and conscious living. Because life isn't a rehearsal. You don't get a second draft. Every day you spend playing small is a day you can never get back. Today is the day to stop merely existing. Today is the day to start living fully, to show up for yourself in ways you never have before. I'm not saying it will be easy. Growth is uncomfortable. Transformation is messy. You'll be challenged, tested, and tempted to retreat. But on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that you haven't even met yet, stronger, braver, more alive. So, take a breath. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture that version of yourself, the one who chose courage over fear, action over hesitation, purpose over comfort. Now, open your eyes and take the first step toward becoming that person. Let go of mediocrity. Step boldly into a future that feels meaningful, vibrant, and true to who you really are. The world doesn't need more people going through the motions. It needs people who are awake, alive, and committed to living with intention. Are you ready to be one of them? Let's keep walking this journey together, one conscious choice, one brave action, one fully lived moment at a time.